Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gift of Health Weekly Wellness Chat. I am Dr. Arjun Rayapudi. This is my lovely wife, Dr. Shobha Rayapudi. We are both lifestyle medicine doctors and co-founders of Gift of Health, where we are teaching people, showing people how to prevent and reverse chronic disease, get off medications, lose weight, and keep it off, and have more energy with just using simple diet and lifestyle changes. Every week at Gift of Health, we are bringing experts from different facets of lifestyle medicine. And today we are so excited to have a very special guest, Dr. Ajay Shah from Michigan.
Yes, so we are really excited to have him. He's not only a board certified cardiologist, he's also lifestyle medicine. He's certified in lifestyle medicine. He's a life coach, motivational speaker, and today I know like he's going to motivate you with a lot of things and also share how you can live a long and healthy life. So we are really thrilled to have him.
Yes, Dr. Shah, welcome to Gift of Health Wellness Chat. We're so glad you're able to join today.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Arjun Rayapudi and Shobha Rayapudi. It's been an honor. I've been a big fan of your work and big fan of your weekly live. I've been learning a lot of things from you and from your guests. So it's a big privilege and big honor to be on your live. And I'm going to try my best to show people what you are actually trying to do over the last many years to be healthy, to live long, to be happy.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, one word to our viewers. This is going to be a very, very informative and educational session about how to live a long and healthy life. Invite your friends and family, and give a like to this video, give a love, and like share it to your newsbook feed as well.
Yeah, so that it reaches many people, because this is such an important area.
Yes, absolutely.
Like who doesn't want to improve health, or who doesn't want to live happy and long? So I would say this is a gold mine. So feel free to invite your friends, and do let us know where you're joining from.
Yes, we always love to know. Like sometimes we have people joining from other side of the world. Like yeah, just type in the chat like where you're joining from, and give a like or a love, and keep sharing. Yes, Dr. Shah, to you, like we always love to start with this important question of us, and like from many of our viewers is like, hey, you're a traditionally trained, board certified cardiologist. And how is that you got interested in like teaching people what to eat, the importance of exercise? Like many people think cardiology should be doing stents, or like prescribing medications, but you are not the conventional type. You are talking to your patients about the simple yet powerful things.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And I think that's a very, very timely and valid question, because I've been practicing cardiology for 26 years. And first 18, 20 years were traditional cardiology, where I would be doing a lot of procedures, a lot of prescribing medications. But I realized that a lot of patients keep coming back. They were pretty much frequent flyer club. I mean, they would keep coming back every 6 to 12 months with more medications, more stents. Their chronic disease, including heart disease, keep getting worse. And then I realized that what I'm doing as a traditional cardiologist is actually just mopping the floor while the faucet is still on. And that's where I came across this lifestyle medicine specialty. And it was a new specialty when I started looking into it. And I got board certified into it 3-4 years ago. And since then, I just have not looked back. So many of my patients now are getting off their medications. Many of them are stabilizing their disease. And then I got interested into not just into heart disease, but many chronic disease, including diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, cancer, even living long. And I think my last 2-3 years passion has been how to reverse chronic disease, how to get people off their medications, how to make them healthier, how to make them live long. And I've prepared this talk, which is a very rapid fire talk. It has a lot of things to go over, but at the same time, people can look into this, what I'm going to show them today themselves, and everything I'm going to show them can be 1 hour, 2 hour discussion. So today's talk is going to be a rapid fire talk. And I'm going to cover a lot of things. So let people stop me, ask me questions, and you both jump in also to answer the questions also, because you both are expert in the lifestyle medicine too. So all three of us will handle all the questions.
Excellent. Yeah. And to our viewers, feel free to share your questions and concerns about health and disease and living long, like any chronic medical issues you have, and we love to respond to your questions.
I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Does people see the slides now?
Yes. We can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I call this talk as small steps for longevity, happiness, and health. And essentially, some of the things I'm going to show you is not very difficult. It's actually not even very expensive. Most of it, what I'm going to show you is pretty much free. You can do it from today or tomorrow. And it's going to require some discipline, but it's not going to require a lot of scientific understanding. It's not going to require a lot of hard work. It's going to be simple thing I'm going to show you today. So first thing, I've been a physician for 41 years, believe it or not, a long time. I've been cardiologist for 26 years. I've been board certified into lifestyle medicine for 3 years. But the biggest thing I call myself is I'm big enthusiastic about longevity and health span. So today's talk, like I said earlier, is a rapid fire list. So please hang on to your seat and just enjoy the talk, but stop us anytime and ask us questions. So as we know, Americans are living less. Even before COVID-19 hit us, even in 2018, 2019, Americans were living few months less than the years before. And that's very concerning. And a lot of the reasons include obesity, mental illness, suicide, opiate overdose, narcotic addiction. But at the same time, we also have realized that Americans are getting sicker at a younger and younger age. In my practice, over the last 30, 35 years, I've seen that I see much younger patients with heart disease, with many chronic disease, with high blood pressure, with diabetes, with obesity. So that's a concern I have. And that's where I think my talk is going to take you, that how can you prevent Americans dying early and also getting sicker earlier and earlier. Let's start with this concept of chronological age and biological age. Chronological age means essentially the day you were born until today. So for example, I am 59 years old and that's my chronological age. And biological age is the age how your body has aged at a cellular level, at a physiologic level. And I will tell you what my biological age is when we end this talk. And I will tell you how you can measure your biological age also, which is very important. I also want you to understand this concept of rectangular lifespan curve. As I explained, Americans are getting sicker at a younger and younger age. I see many of my patients last 10, 15, even 20 years of their lifespan with a lot of chronic disease, a lot of disability, a lot of nursing home stay, and that's what we need to change. That's where we need to go into this rectangular lifespan curve where we live long, very long, 90, 100, and then suddenly in 1 week or 1 day, we die without much suffering, without much illness, without much misery. And that's where I think I want all of us to learn how we can make our lifespan curve a rectangular curve. So again, following list, what I'm going to show you is my learning and my experience, my personal experience from my understanding of the science over the last 40 years. And again, what I'm going to show you is by all means is not a complete. There are a lot more things you can find out yourself. There are a lot more things you can add as you watch this presentation. So please explore this subject yourself also. Everything I'm going to show you can take 1 hour to discuss itself. So please research yourself and learn yourself also after this talk is over. Let's start with some simple physical attributes. We know now the centenarians, people who live 100, their body mass index is 22 or below. Body mass index you can easily calculate based on your height and weight, and there are online calculators available. Even though in America, BMI of 25 is considered overweight and BMI of 30 is considered obese, I sincerely believe that if you want to live long, BMI of 22 is ideal. For certain ethnic, certain race population, for example, Indians, BMI of 20 is ideal because we develop insulin resistance at a much less BMI. Body fat should be around 15% for male, 25% for female. Waist size, this is a very simple thing. You can do it even today at home just by simple measuring tape. If your waist size is more than half your height, then that means you need to lose weight and you need to lower your BMI, lower your waist size to less than half of your height. Your resting heart rate should be below 50. People who have a high resting heart rate, they have higher mortality, they don't live long. So resting heart rate should be below 50. There should be optimal heart rate variability. Heart rate variability is a measure between each heartbeats you make, how much is the gap between each heartbeat. So ideally, you should be having optimal heart rate variability. There are a lot of devices you can wear actually, including Fitbit type device, including Whoop type device, which you can wear, which can give you the heart rate variability. And we'll talk how you can improve your heart rate variability. Everybody is now talking about microbiome. Microbiome is essentially the bacteria and other species which live in our gut, mostly live in our colon, and also live in our body. Having a healthy microbiome has now shown to increase the longevity and can prevent many diseases. So having healthy microbiome is very important. People who eat plant-based diet, people who have high fiber in their diet, they have very healthy microbiome. So we'll talk about healthy microbiome also as we go. Blood pressure is one of the major killer. Blood pressure is considered a chronic disease now. 50% of Americans have high blood pressure. Blood pressure ideally should be below 110 over 80 if you want to live long, either with medication, preferably without medication. And Dr. Rayapudi's team has shown us many times with their teaching that how you can get off your blood pressure medicine, how you can normalize your blood pressure without medication, by losing weight, by doing certain other simple methods. Also, maintaining certain circadian rhythm is very also important. We all actually, every cell in our body, including cells in pancreas, cells in brain, cells in every cell in the body follows the sun cycle circadian rhythm. That means we are at much better insulin sensitivity in the morning, and our insulin sensitivity starts to go down. And if you follow the circadian rhythm, you have a higher chance of living long and getting healthier. So let's start with what you can do to live long and live healthy. In terms of nutrition, following whole food plant-based diet is very important. People who are whole food plant-based, they live long. Even the blue zone people, where they live long, where they live 100, typically they're plant-centered. They may be not vegan, but then 90% of their calories come from plant-based diet, and typically it's not the processed plant-based, it's a whole food plant-based diet. People who avoid salt, oil, and sugar, they also live long and they also have less chronic disease. People who avoid any kind of soda, any kind of Coke, Pepsi, or Sprite, or even some of the energy drinks, they also live long. People who avoid processed food, they also live long. Americans eat 65% processed food in their diet, and that needs to change. Avoiding alcohol is very important, even though some people say that small amount of alcohol could be healthy, but according to the newer guidelines, zero alcohol is the best policy. Avoiding any kind of street drugs or any kind of prescription drug is also addictive drugs is also very important. Like I said earlier, blue zone people have only 10% calorie come from animal products, and we should be preferred whole food, plant-based vegan. Just like Dr. Rayapudi said, they promote whole food, plant-based vegan diet. I personally try to follow it myself. And people who have whole food, plant-based vegan diet, they live long, they live healthy, they avoid many chronic disease. Fiber is the new ingredient for living long. And Americans do not eat adequate fiber. Most Americans eat anywhere from 10 to 12 grams of fiber. Even though the recommendation is 35 grams minimum 35 grams per day. Most Americans do not get adequate fiber. And as we all know, fiber do not come from any animal product. So red meat, chicken, fish, milk, dairy, cheese does not have any fiber. Fiber comes only from plant-based food. So we need to eat more plant-based food to get at least 50 grams, preferably 75 to 100 grams of fiber. People in ancient world, people in the Paleolithic area, they used to eat 50 to 100 grams of fiber, and they had very good long-term health. Macronutrient ratio is also another thing which is talked about many times. Right now, there is a big fad going on about keto diet, where people are recommending very ultra low carb diet. In my opinion, keto is going to kill more people than COVID-19. Keto is just not a good diet. In my opinion, macronutrient ratio should be 65 to 70% carb, and it should be all whole food plant-based carb. I understand people are becoming carbohydrate phobic, but the phobia should be to the simple carb, phobia should be to the processed carb, phobia should be the sugar, and not to the whole food plant-based carb. So 65% of calorie, even 70% of calorie should come from whole food plant-based, no oil carb. 25% should come from the fat, and typically poly and monounsaturated fat. And only 10% calories should come from protein. We know now that high protein diet, including paleo diet, has caused significant concern in terms of longevity and health span. High protein diet also promotes mTOR activation and also cause many cancers, and it stimulates the IGF-1 pathway. So protein should be limited to 10% of diet, and protein should come from plant-based protein as much as possible. Animal protein clearly has shown to cause increasing IGF-1, which can promote many cancers. So 10% protein ideally should be all plant-based or mostly plant-based protein. There should be micronutrient access. As Dr. Joe Furman clearly says that H equals N over C. That means there should be more micronutrient and less calories. More micronutrient you have, higher you have a chance of living long and higher chance of preventing many chronic disease. And micronutrient typically only come from whole food plant-based diet. Animal products do have some micronutrient, but they are mostly calorie-loaded items. They are mostly saturated fat, and their micronutrient is very, very low. So micronutrient access only can be achieved if you have a whole food plant-based predominant diet. We should have adequate omega-3 in our diet. It's been proven again and again that omega-3 prevents many chronic disease, including heart disease, and high omega-3 is very important. Omega-3 can be naturally achieved from seeds and walnuts and many other things, but sometimes you can have algae-based omega-3 supplement if you think you're not getting enough omega-3. Having a low omega-6, which typically comes from many vegetable oils, also should be avoided. B12 for all vegan is very important because vegan typically do not get adequate B12. So B12 supplement is one of the only supplement which I highly recommend to have on a weekly base or daily base, a small dose. Daily nuts and seeds have shown to prevent many chronic disease, including heart disease and longevity. And regular consumption of very small amount of nuts and seeds is also very important. Vitamin D is also very important. If you're not getting adequate sunlight, or if you live in an area where there's not adequate sunlight, vitamin D supplementation is also a fair game, and I take myself a vitamin D supplement. If you are not eating any salt, because salt typically provides you the iodine from iodized salt, taking a multivitamin with iodine is also a very fair call. I take a multivitamin with iodine every day myself. Having an adequate raw and cooked vegetable every day is very important. Sometimes it's not something which we need to eliminate, but also what we need to add. And adding 1 pound of raw and 1 pound of water cooked vegetables is also very important. 5 servings of fruits is also very important. Having a regular beans, lentils, and legumes very important. We know now that all blue zone people who live long, they typically have some form of legumes, lentils, and beans in the diet at least once or twice a day. Matter of fact, Brenda Davis, who is an esteemed nutritionist and dietitian, clearly says that you should have a legume, beans, or lentil with every meal, including breakfast, including lunch, and including dinner. Having a small intake grains is also very important. That means avoiding processed grains like white rice, white flour, also very important. Having a brown rice or black rice or quinoa or millet, all those intake grains are also very important. Having a 1 pound of starchy vegetables, because starchy vegetables gives you the satiety, while starchy vegetables gives you the fullness. So having 1 pound of starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes or even regular potatoes, which are just water cooked, is very important. Our diet should be very low in saturated fat, and you can easily achieve by having plant-based diet. Typically, plant-based diet, particularly when it's cooked in water or when you have a raw plant-based diet, they're very low in saturated fat. Typically, animal products, particularly red meat, has very high saturated fat, and that should be avoided by all means. I want to also throw this thing called G-bombs, and this is from Dr. Joe Furman, where he says that you should have G-bombs every day. And G-bomb stands for green vegetables, B is for berries, O for onions, M for mushrooms, B for beans, and S for seeds. G-bombs should be in our diet on every day. We should be also having decaf green tea. Green tea has shown clearly for longevity and also for preventing many chronic disease. Our cooking should be low temperature cooking, because at a high temperature, advanced N-glycation products form, and those advanced N-glycation products have shown to cause many chronic disease, including heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, cataract, even skin wrinkles. So if you want to look good, if you want to live long, if you want to prevent many chronic disease, maintain a low temperature cooking, raw diet, low temperature water cooking, and avoid any kind of barbecuing or avoid any high temperature oven cooking. Calorie restriction has shown to prevent many chronic disease and people living long. When animals were restricted the calories by 15 to 25%, they live 15 to 25% long. And this has been proven for the last 100 years. So calorie restriction is also very important. Intermittent fasting, even though it's a kind of a new term we are using, but our ancestors and even people in the Eastern world have been following intermittent fasting for hundreds and thousands of years. That means trying to eat before the sunset happens and trying to eat within 8 to 12 hours of the day. Ideally, we should have a large, healthy breakfast, whole food, plant-based, with oat or quinoa or fruits or whatever healthy large breakfast, and having a light early dinner. There should be at least 4-hour gap before you go to sleep, before your dinner. So dinner should be around 6 or 7 o'clock or 5 or 6 o'clock if you're going to sleep at 10 o'clock. A water-only fasting also has shown to cause some benefits in terms of longevity, in terms of promoting autophagy, in terms of clearing out many precancerous cells and preventing many cancers. So some regular water-only fasting, like once or twice a month, 1 day, 2 days, even 3 days, is very important. Creating a healthy ketosis is also very important. Right now, people are going on this fad keto diet to create the ketosis. But the ketosis by keto diet is actually very unhealthy. It promotes many chronic disease. It increases your cholesterol, and it also actually makes you insulin resistant. So creating healthy ketosis, both for brain health, is very important. And you can create healthy ketosis by intermittent fasting, by water-only fasting, by regular exercise, and by following a whole food plant-based diet. Regular drinking water is very important. Many of us actually eat food when we are thirsty, thinking that we are hungry, but actually we are thirsty. So preventing any kind of dehydration or being thirsty is very important. So regular water intake, just a plain simple water, is very important. Eating fermented food is also very important. Many Eastern culture eat the fermented food on a regular basis, particularly in Japan, and fermented food promotes a healthy microbiome. So improving microbiome is very important. Eating a whole food, plant-based diet, eating fermented food will improve your microbiome and will prevent many chronic disease. Like I said earlier, high protein diet promotes many chronic disease, including cancer, by promoting IGF-1 pathway and also by promoting mTOR pathway. Also, right now there is a craze, particularly among bodybuilders and particularly among some of the health fanatics, about taking this high level of branched chain amino acids, but we know now that high level of bright chain amino acid also promotes mTOR pathway, promotes IGF-1, promotes many cancer, and that should be avoided. Also, I personally believe, even though I'm not very good at it, but having some cooking skill is very important. Most Americans eat outside their house at least, I would say, 5 to 7 meals, even 10 meals per week out of the 21 meals. Outside meals at a restaurant, at the fast food places are not very healthy. They're very high in salt, very high in oil, very high in saturated fat, and that should be avoided. So developing cooking skill is very important. Fortunately, there are a lot of mail order cooking programs available where you can just simply get the ready-made meals and cook yourself. So ideally, you should be eating at least 20 meals out of 20 meals, at least 18 meals out of 21 meals at home as much as possible. Let's now dive into physical activity, the second pillar in terms of a healthy, long lifestyle. 15,000 steps per day, even though most people say 10,000, in my opinion, if you want to live long, try to increase your game and make it 15,000 steps per day. And you can easily achieve that by moving every hour. Whenever you have any chance, whenever you are sitting, even at work, just walk a few minutes every hour and you will easily achieve 15,000 steps. I work full time, I commute 2 hours, and even though with that, my average steps has been 15, 18, 20,000 steps per day for the last 5 years. Regular strength training and weight training is very important, either with free weights or with machine-based weight training, or just even simple calisthenics, push-ups and squats is very important. We lose muscle mass as we get older, and it's very important we maintain the muscle mass to prevent insulin resistance, to prevent osteoporosis, and prevent many other chronic disease. Regular stretches, yoga, and balance training is very important. A fall is very, very deadly in older population. Matter of fact, after a fall and a hip fracture, it's as deadly as a lung cancer. So preventing fall is very important. That's where the balance training comes also very important. I call the be a Sardinian male. Traditionally, female live anywhere 3 to 5 years longer than male. Sardinia is the only region where male live longer. So for all our male listeners, if you want to live long as your wife, as long as your life partner, as long as other female, then you need to be a Sardinian male. Sardinian male actually wake up in the morning, 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, they get out of the house, they get on the mountains, they take the ships and the herd, and they walk all day. They are up and down on the hills. So if you want to be a Sardinian male, walk every hour, take some stairs, don't take the elevator, and be a Sardinian male. Then you will live long and hopefully catch up to the female as living as long. And again, like I said, move every hour. Let's go through some of the laboratory data. This is very simple labs. Most of you probably already had it done within last 3 to 6 months, definitely last within 1 year. A1C is a measure of diabetes, which tells you how your sugar is over last 90 days. So A1C should be below 5.2. Even though 5.7 is normal for calling pre-diabetes, 5.2 is ideal for longevity. Total cholesterol should be below 150. Most people are on statin to lower the cholesterol, but with Dr. Rayapudi's program, you can actually lower your cholesterol without even statin therapy. Your LDL, the bad cholesterol, should be 70 or below 100 for sure. Your triglycerides should be below 75, preferably below 50. Your HDL, which is a good cholesterol, should be above 45, preferably above 50. Your ALT and AST, which are liver enzymes, should be below 25. Fatty liver has become a major issue in Western world, and a lot of people, because of obesity, because of insulin resistance, because of alcohol use, have developed the fatty liver. And fatty liver will raise your liver enzyme. So if you have a liver enzymes below 25, typically you do not have fatty liver. Your white blood cell count should be below 4.2. Higher red blood cell count actually a sign of chronic inflammation, and it should be below 4.2. Lymphocyte count again should be above 40%. Neutrophils, which is a type of white blood cell, when they are high, that means there's a chronic inflammation, and it should be lower than 40 to 50%. Albumin, which is a protein in the serum, should be above 4.8. IGF-1 is a hormone which actually behaves like insulin, should be between 100 and 150. This is not measured typically that frequently, but it should be measured, if you have interest in longevity. Insulin should be below 5. Insulin is a hormone which I highly recommend for everyone to measure, and it should be below 5. People who develop insulin resistance, their insulin level will go up, will go about 20, about 25, even about 50. So when people have insulin sensitivity, their insulin level is typically below 5. HSCRP is a measure of inflammation, and we know now chronic inflammation can lead to many chronic disease, including heart disease, diabetes, many cancer, Alzheimer's disease, even many other chronic disease. So inflammation should be avoided, prevented as much as possible. So checking HSCRP to see where you stand with chronic inflammation is very important. Let's talk about how you can live long. Definitely preventing cancer is very important. I have a separate talk on my YouTube channel, how you can prevent cancer. And just eating whole food, plant-based diet prevents many cancer. Preventing obesity prevents many cancer. Not smoking prevents many cancer. Doing regular cancer screening prevents many cancer. So we need to prevent cancer. Also prevent the top killers, because if you prevent the top killers, you have a very high chance of living long. That means heart disease. Heart disease is #1 killer that should be prevented. Cancer, we talked about it. Stroke should be prevented. Kidney disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, lung disease, including COPD, accidents, suicide prevention, and definitely medical errors. So all those top killers should be prevented and should be avoided as much as possible. Definitely smoking cuts your life by 10 or 15 years. So cut down on smoking and quit smoking as soon as you can. Reverse all chronic disease. Preventing metabolic syndrome is also very important. Americans, 50 to 60% Americans have pre-diabetes or metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome essentially happens because of insulin resistance, and main reason for metabolic syndrome is obesity and lack of exercise, and that should be prevented as much as possible. I have a separate talk on pre-diabetes, so you can watch a talk on pre-diabetes or metabolic syndrome. Osteoporosis is another important thing. Old age fractures, particularly spine fractures, hip fractures, become very, very deadly, very life-threatening, and osteoporosis should be prevented by all means. Preventing depression is also very important. We have realized now that mental illness plays an equal role in terms of longevity, in terms of health span. People who are depressed, they do not take care of themselves, they do not eat healthy, they do not sleep well, they do not exercise. So preventing depression is also very important. Be in the nature as much as possible. And this is one of the pillars which many people have said should be added to the 6 pillars of American College of Lifestyle Medicine, to be in the nature as much as possible. We as humans are made for last hundreds of thousands of years to be in the nature. Living in the house, driving in the car, living in a confined space at our work is only recent, only for last 50, 100, 200, 300, 400 years. We are always out in the nature. Being in the nature at least half an hour a day is very important. Exposing yourself to adequate sunlight is also very important, not just for vitamin D, not just to prevent depression and many sundown type phenomena which happen typically in September, October, typically in Michigan, and typically in many other Northern American areas. So adequate sunlight is also very important. Avoiding night shift is also as much as possible. We know now that WHO has called night shift as a carcinogen. People who work night shift have a very high chance of developing cancer. The sleep gets disturbed. They have high chance of developing obesity. They have high chance of developing pre-diabetes and diabetes. Obviously, all of us cannot avoid night shift, like cardiologists, like Arjun, he's always on call, and that should be avoided as much as possible. But when you cannot avoid it, try to follow other guidelines, other recommendations as much as possible, so that way you can offset some of the ill effects of being on night shift. Good posture is also very important. Maintaining erect, ideal posture is also very important. I also personally believe that having a health coach, having a life coach, even having a personal trainer is an investment, and it should be looked into it. Just like Dr. Rayapudi's program, which in my opinion is more of a health coaching program, which applies to everyone. In my opinion, everyone should have a health coach. Many health coaches are not very expensive. Many health coaching programs are not very expensive and should be taken advantage of as much as possible. That will prevent many chronic disease. That will, on the long run, prevent many expensive procedures, including bypass. People don't realize that bypass surgery, open heart surgery, costs $65,000 up to $100,000 for one procedure. And you can have a lot of hours with a health coach, a lot of programs with Dr. Rayapudi's program where you can prevent many chronic disease. And when you have a health coach, you actually not only prevent chronic disease, but your productivity goes up, your sleep improves, your mood improves, and you live a healthy, happy life. Regular vaccines are very important. As we know, flu vaccines, pneumococcal vaccines, even many other vaccines, very important. Talk to your primary care physician, which vaccines are needed, which vaccines are important, and get the vaccines as soon as they are needed. Cancer screenings are very important, including colonoscopy, including mammograms, including prostate exams are very important. Yearly physicals are also very important. We take our car more often to a service person to get an oil change, but we don't take our body for a yearly physical. Yearly physical is very important. Dental care is very important. Regular dental checkups and dental cleaning is very important. Flossing every night is very important. Taking care of your teeth is very important. People who have a gum inflammation, they develop many chronic disease, including heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, and dental care should be as important as other physical care. Sleeping 7 to 8 hours is also very important. You can actually measure your sleep now with simple device like Fitbit or Whoop device or Oura Ring, so many other simple devices, and they are not very expensive. Actually, you can get Fitbit for less than $65, $70, which you can vary every night, which will give you your steps every day, which will give you your sleep analysis, including your REM sleep, including your deep sleep, including your light sleep. So sleep is very important, not just sleep 7 to 8 hours, but follow and track it also. Regular exposure to sauna is also very important, either dry heat sauna or steam sauna. People who have a sauna, regular exposure to sauna, they live long. A lot of studies coming out of Sweden where people who expose themselves to sauna 3-4 times a week have a less chance of heart disease, less chance of many chronic disease, and living long. Taking cold showers are also very important. Cold shower is a type of a hermetic stress which exposes you to a low level of insult and actually makes you more resilient in terms of many chronic disease and living long. Protection from sunlight is also very important. Regular application of sunscreen is not only very important to prevent wrinkles, but also to prevent many skin cancers. Financial health is also very important. Obviously, we all want to live 100, 110, but if you run out of your money in your 80s and 90s, that would be a miserable life. So make sure you take care of your financial health. Learning CPR is also very important because when we live with a wife or a husband or a life partner, if anyone develops cardiac arrest, if you know the CPR, you'll be able to save many, many lives. So learning CPR is also very important. Regular safe car driving, including wearing your seatbelt, including not taxing and driving, because all those things will kill you in no time. And no matter how healthy lifestyle you have, but if you don't have a safe car driving, you are at risk of dying early. Get a college degree or more. People who have college degree, they live typically long because they're able to search what is important for them, what is good for them in a much easier way. And getting a college degree is very important for living long and for healthy lifespan. Definitely have a spousal life partner. People who are married, people who have a life partner, they typically live long. Having a family is also very important. Having kids, having parents, having brother, sister, having in-laws is also very important. Many blue zones, they typically live long because one of the pillar is having a good social circle, good family life, good friends. Certain mindset is also very important. Purpose to live is very important. People who wake up every morning for a mission, for a purpose, they actually have a higher chance of following healthy habits and eating healthy and exercising. So having purpose to live is very important. Also, having a strong belief that you will live long is also very important. People who are optimistic about their lifespan typically live long. Feeling young is very important. Not just staying young, but also feeling young is very important. Also, acting young is also very important. Be like a child. I also have come out with this 8-8-8 method where you work for 8 hours. you sleep for 8 hours, and then you provide 8 hours of self-care. And that self-care includes healthy eating, cooking, meditation, some pranayama or breathing exercise, some social time, being in the nature. So again, 8, 8, 8. When people are imbalanced, when they work 12, 14, 16 hours, when they don't sleep adequately, when they don't have adequate time for self-care, that's when chronic disease starts to come in and people start to die early. So again, maintaining some kind of discipline to have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and 8 hours of self-care is very important. Mindfulness is very important. We all know the benefits of being mindful. It's been proven again and again, both in East and West, and being mindful is very important. We also know that when you are in love with a person or a pet or a plant, you live long. There are many studies done when old people were given a plant to take care of. They actually live long compared to people who did not have anything to take care of. Living for others is also very important. When you have a habit of taking care of other people, you typically live long. Have a hobby also. People who have hobby, they typically have a less chance of depression, less chance of many chronic disease, and they live long. Also, be a minimalist. I think a lot of time, a lot of the mental illness starts to set in when we become materialistic, and being a minimalist is also very important. Reflect on the life every day. Have a journal where you know how your day went, what you ate, how much exercise you do, what kind of social circle you had, how was your sleep. So reflecting on life every day. Being happy is also very important, and I have a separate video on how to be happy. Please watch that video, and you'll be surprised that there are certain things which will make you happy, and there are certain things which will not necessarily will make you happy. And living in a big house, driving an expensive car, not necessarily makes you happy. But having an experience, attending a good lecture, vacationing with your spouse, with your family is very important. Those things will make you happy. So please watch my video. Be proactive with health, proactive with longevity, proactive with financial health, proactive with your house, proactive with your car care, proactive with your family care. Be proactive. Always be positive and be optimistic. Stress management is also very important. Self-care is not selfish. When you take care of yourself, you actually become a better husband, better wife, better father, better son, better daughter. So self-care is not selfish. Take care of yourself and you will live long and you will prevent many chronic disease. Increase the parasympathetic tone. I have a separate video on this also. So parasympathetic tone can be increased by taking cold shower, by following certain diet. People who eat whole food, plant-based, high fiber diet, they typically have high parasympathetic tone. Time management is also very important. We all get 24 hours in a day, and how you manage your time is also very important. And like I said, when you manage your time, you will ration time for cooking, time for meditation, time for pranayama, time for breathing exercise, time in nature is also very important. That's where time management becomes very important. People who volunteer typically have less chance of depression, less chance of feeling sad, and that should be done as much as possible. Always stay mentally active, even if you retire. Many of you know I'm retiring in 3 weeks, but I'm planning to stay mentally active, give a lot of lifestyle medicine lectures, do a lot of volunteering, spend time with families, spend time with a lot of the friends. Adequate supportive social circle is also very important. Working 40 hours. Typically, I highly recommend people not to work more than 40 hours, because when you become more than 40 hours, it starts to compromise into your self-care, and that's where I think many of the chronic disease and issues starts to come in. Journaling every day is very important. Like I said earlier, I journal every day for the last 5 years. I journal typically in my phone. I write down everything what I do in a day. Gratitude journal is also very important. Gratitude journal actually prevents many mental illness, and actually it makes you feel happier about what's going on in your life. Definitely avoid any kind of angry situations. So this was my quick thought on how to live long, how to live happy, how to live healthy. You can actually measure your biological age by simple labs. There's a calculator called Morgan-Levine calculator, where you can just Google Morgan-Levine calculator, and you can actually plug in all your blood work, all your labs, and it will give you a biological age. There's another site also called myaging.ai, where you can also plug in your labs, and it will give you a biological age. You can also do certain other things, including methylation age. Methylation age based on your DNA, and actually it also gives you a biological age. You can also measure your telomere age, and telomere age also will give you biological age. So again, these are some of the ways you can measure your biological age. It's very important you know how biological age you are, so that way you can actually reverse the aging, and you can measure your biological age on a yearly basis, and you know that you have stopped getting older biologically, and you're actually reversing your biological age. So this was my quick talk. I'm going to stop sharing slides here and take the questions.
That's a fantastic review, Dr. Shah. Like so many pearls of wisdom there. I can't wait to go on this the resources that you gave and check my biological age. It's been a long time since I checked my biological age. There was once I did. It's been a long time, and at that time, like I was, I think, 36, 37, and my biological age came at 21. So I want to see. I want to see like if I'm growing more younger or older.
Yeah. No, I think you are going all younger because I've seen your pictures from the beginning, and I think you look definitely younger and younger just by outside. So inside, I'm sure you're younger too. So
Good. Excellent. Yeah. So we're gonna give some time for our viewers to let us know what you're taking away from this. If you have any questions about living healthy, living longer, about preventing disease, or even coming off of medication, Dr. Shah is one of the experts in this field, and we highly respect what the work he's doing. Dr. Shekhar is saying, excellent presentation, Dr. Shah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Dr. Shah is retiring in 3 weeks. He is 59, but he doesn't look, more than like 40, right? So
thank you.
They're expecting their first grandchild in next 3 months. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
On your retirement, on all your accomplishments, and on your grandchild. Bonnie is saying such a wonderful information. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Dr. Shekhar.
Yeah. So, and actually, like, we have people joining from all over Dr. Shah. So we have people from Jamaica. We have people from
Newfoundland and different parts of US and Canada. So,
no, but I think I must say that the work you both are doing, I don't think many of your own followers are understanding that not only they are preventing and reversing many chronic disease, but just by following your program, they're actually going to live anywhere from 15 to 20, even 25 years longer. So earlier they start your program, I think it's going to be very important. And to be honest with you, I think even people who are in their 60s and 70s, if they join your program, not only they will reverse many chronic disease, they will start reverse their aging also. And they biologically, they will start to get younger. And many of them will actually start having a better mood. They will start having better time with their family, better time, themselves, with their spouse. They will have a new lease on their life. And I think that's where your program is so scientific and so proven and so much simple at the same time, and so cost effective also, that I think your program should be, in my opinion, should be given to every American, every Canadian.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much. And, we have observed this again and again, Dr. Shah. People were coming to us to either get better from diabetes or high blood pressure, or high cholesterol. These things were getting better, but apart from this, their mental health was improving. Like, we have had an RCMP officer, a police officer, who came to us because his blood pressure was high, and he had a strong family history of heart disease. So he did the workshop. 6 weeks into the program, his blood pressure was plummeting, and his doctor reduced the blood pressure medication. but also his co-workers, like the co-police officers, they were noticing that this guy was extremely happy, and they were asking him, "Are you on any new drugs?" No, actually. So his mood was so well, like
Yeah.
all the. So it's the mental health is improving mental health, having more energy. It's such a byproduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one question, Dr. Shah, and this is from Dr. Chandrasekhar. Do you have any data on reversal of chronic liver disease with plant-based diet?
I don't have data. I'm not a gastroenterologist, but we know now that fatty liver can definitely be reversed very quickly with plant-based diet. So if fatty liver is one of the common chronic liver disease, that can be liver. But I'm not sure that a person already has gone through the stage of cirrhosis or a person has a hep C or that kind of illness, that can be. But at the same time, to be frank with you, I think any additional insult to the liver will be detrimental if you already have chronic disease. If you have chronic liver disease, by going whole food plant-based, at least you will not make the chronic liver disease worse.
Yes. And just to add to what you have said, Dr. Shah, like we did have participants with fatty liver who were actually able to reverse their conditions, like when they went on plant-based diet. So even they were surprised. So like their numbers were good, and even the doctor was surprised when they saw those numbers. So yes, it is possible. So like we have individual cases, like I didn't look into the data much, but like we have experienced like personal
Yeah, like our
scenario.
participants getting improving, like the liver condition, liver disease is improving with the plant-based diet. Like I just I was looking to while you're chatting, like I looked up and to see if there is any data on chronic liver disease reversal with a plant-based diet. I mean, there are some publications like but there are also a lot of personal stories that when Folks Over Knives is one resource that we follow. There is a guy like who reported that how he reversed his cirrhosis in 1 year on a plant-based diet. Like you can look up his journey on Folks Over Knives. His name is Otis Price. So these are personal case studies. We could call them case studies, but we do. We can. Dr. Shekhar will definitely look up any data that is published on it. But there are individual case studies, case examples where people have reversed early cirrhosis with a plant-based diet. Hope that's helpful. Yeah. So then there are also other questions, Dr. Shah, like Bonnie is asking, can you elaborate on the importance of circadian rhythm?
Yes, so again, every cell in our body over last 100,000 years has followed the sun cycle. We are living in the huts and house and other things only for last 5 to 10,000 years. So every cell is programmed, including the suprachiasmatic nucleus in our brain, is programmed to follow a sun cycle. So whenever there is a sunrise in the morning, certain hormones got secreted, certain enzymes get more active. For example, insulin is more sensitive in the morning. So having a heavy breakfast is very important. Unfortunately, in America, we have heavy dinner instead of heavy breakfast, but we are mostly insulin sensitive in the morning. So following circadian rhythm is very important. Actually, there is a book by Sachin Panda, who has written a book called Circadian Rhythm. And that book is almost 200 or 300 page book, a whole thing about why we should be following a sun cycle, like every morning. Even in India, I remember that we were actually asked to do the sun saluting in the morning. And sun saluting in the morning was designed to set our brain and our body cell cycle to the adjusting to the sun coming up in the morning, having certain hormones secreted, including insulin, including cortisol, other hormones. So I think circadian rhythm is very important. It's here to stay. And people who follow circadian rhythm, typically they are healthier.
Yeah, I'd love to add like one comment to that, Dr. Shah. I agree with you what you said on circadian rhythm. One more thing that I know more and more information is coming up is how important is our gut microbiome for our health. And so gut microbiome is that we have trillions and trillions of different types of healthy bacteria. These bacteria are little one-celled animals in our gut. And what is fascinating is that these bacteria are more active, the microbiome, the healthy bacteria are more active when sun is on. So research shows that like when you eat the same number of calories during the daytime, your gut microbiome is more active and digested food well during the daytime compared to you eating the same food in the evening time. And it is irrespective of the activity. The researchers actually matched the activity that the participants were doing during the daytime and the evening time. So it's not the activity, it's also the bacteria, the gut microbiome. They sleep when the sun is sleeping, when the sun is like, on the other side of the world, and they're active when the sun is on. So along with every cell having its own circadian rhythm, one of the most important organ, like the microbiome itself now is being called is considered as an organ. It's more active during the sun, when it has a circadian rhythm pattern. So everything in nature has rhythm, right? So it's important, if we align ourselves with the natural rhythms, we are going with the flow. Otherwise, like if you're eating more in the evening and eating less during the day, or sleeping less during the night and sleeping more during the day, you're going against the flow of the natural rhythms of your body.
So along those same lines, Dr. Shah, we have another question. This is from Mark. He says, I work night shifts every week and they're 10 hours. I'm usually too tired after my night shifts to do anything the next day. Is there something I can do to make this more manageable?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Obviously, like I said, some of us cannot avoid night shift, particularly nurses and paramedics and certain night shift workers in factories also. So at least what they can do, they can actually be following what I showed more than even myself or anybody else, number one. Number two, when they go to the work at night, try to have whole food, plant-based diet instead of having a Coke and a pizza. Whenever they are working at night, try to move even during the night every hour. And during the daytime when they are sleeping, as much moving they can do, that would be very important. Obviously, night shift is an issue, but at the same time, the effects can be negated by following everything I showed, pretty much I would say 90 or 95%. So if Mark is having a night shift, he only needs to follow more so of what I showed than anybody else. And if he does that, the effects of night shift will be minimized, and hopefully his lifespan and his health span will not be compromised because of night shift. But if you have a night shift, and then if you have a Coke and pizza at midnight, that's going to hurt him more than having a whole food plant-based salad and a water at midnight.
Excellent.
Yes. And this is my personal observation too, like, when we were doing night shifts, like back-to-back night shifts in our residency program, like we were doing like a month of night shifts continuously. Every year, after that night shift month happened, I would notice that my weight would go up. And most of the time, like at that time, I was not following whole food plant-based way of eating. And the typical foods that you eat at nighttime, they are not so healthy. So it's so important to like eat right, like more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains and beans, more whole foods, even when you're on night shifts, and staying active, as Dr. Shah said, like these are extremely helpful. Like I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, Mark, you got to do this more than someone who's doing day shift.
Yes. Yeah. So this is another question from Brenda. Is there a specific plant-based diet for people with type 2 diabetes? Thank you for this very informative presentation.
So if you
recommend a specific plant-based diet pattern for people with diabetes?
I think if you are type 2 diabetic, Dr. Rayapudi's program, whole food, plant-based, no oil diet program is almost mandatory, because we know now that the mechanism of type 2 diabetes is the fat into muscle cell, pancreatic cell, and liver cells. So we need to clear out the fat from all the ectopic cells, we call it, which is essentially because fat should be ideally into fat cells and nowhere else. But when the fat gets accumulated into muscle, pancreas, and liver, that's where type 2 diabetes comes. So we need to lower fat in our diet. And how better way to lower fat in our diet than going whole food, plant-based, no oil? Because traditionally, when you go whole food, plant-based, no oil, your fat in your diet is typically less than 10 or 15%. And when you do lower that fat that much in your diet, you start to clear out all the fat from all the cells I described, and your type 2 diabetes start to get reversed pretty quickly. People who go on whole food, plant-based, no oil diet, before even they lose significant amount of weight, the sugar starts to come down because they are lowering the fat, particularly the saturated fat, so much from their diet. So for type 2 diabetic, for Brenda, whole food, plant-based, no oil, particularly remember, no oil is very important.
Yes, excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, I would add one thing, Brenda, to what Dr. Shah said. I agree with everything what he said. It's very, very important. What we find with people with diabetes, type 2 or type 1 diabetes is important is to keep the grains intact. The grains being intact. What I mean with that is, like sometimes you may be thinking that whole wheat products or whole grain products are okay. Like you may be going for whole wheat bread or whole wheat pastas or whole wheat, pizzas, like whole wheat, like cookies, things like that. Instead, the problem with this flour-based foods, even if they're made with whole wheat, is that they raise your blood sugars, much quicker compared to you choosing an intact grain. An intact grain is something like a quinoa or barley or steel cut oats or millets, like our brown rice. Like when you choose intact grains, the grains that are not powdered or flour, then the body has to break it down. So which that breakdown within the body, it happens gradually, and your blood sugar rising it happens gradually. So along with no oil, whole food, plant-based eating, just don't fall for this trap of going for the processed grains. So choose the intact grains.
And just to add to that, Brenda, like I know knowing what to eat, what not to eat is one part of the puzzle, but like implementing it is another part of the puzzle. So like when people immerse themselves in immersion programs, it is found beneficial because they're like, you're not only getting the knowledge, you're getting the skills, you're also getting support from other members who are going through the same situation as you. So where you're getting the accountability as well as your progress is fast tracked rather than like trying to figure it on your own. So that is also something to consider and keep in mind, which has helped a lot of participants as well.
Yeah.
This is one comment. I know we are running out of time, but this is one last question, Dr. Shah. So why, I know you touched upon this in the beginning of your presentation. The question is, why are we seeing diseases in younger generations now, like in younger people? Like, as you have said, whether it is
even in your cardiology career, in last 25 years, you have noticed that you're seeing more heart disease in people who are 35 and 40-year-olds compared to even 10-20 years ago. And what would you say the common reason for this?
So I think the most important reason is obesity. Obesity is now 43% of Americans. So obesity definitely has played a largest role. At the same time, lack of movement has also played a large role. Also, this social media addiction, a lot of losing sleeping hours has also played a role. So I think when it comes down to younger and younger people seeing me and seeing Arjun and seeing you, Shobha, is partly because of derangement of all 6 pillars. Matter of fact, one of the pillars, which is the substance abuse and alcohol, the reason before COVID-19 longevity had gone down by a few months, one of the important reasons was opioid addiction, prescription drug addiction, and suicide from the mental health illness. So I think all 6 pillars in young people, including the processed food, including the fast food. So I think there are many actors for these young people to get into the heart disease and many chronic disease, but obesity is the number one reason this is happening. So I think if you want to target anything, target into whole food plant-based diet. People who are vegan, people who are whole food plant-based, typically their body mass index is 22. We know from Loma Linda, from Seventh-day Adventist people, the Seventh-day Adventist people who are vegan, their BMI was normal compared to the people who were either pescatarian or people who were eating meat. Their BMI was 27 to 30. So just being whole food plant-based in young people will prevent many chronic disease.
Excellent.
But all 6 pillars are important. All 6 pillars are important.
Yes.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, Mark is saying like, thank you very much. Charlotte said like valuable information. Thanks for sharing. Brenda is saying the same. Thank you for valuable information. They all love your talk.
Thank you.
Shah. Yes.
Yeah.
There is one question from Geraldine, like we can wrap up with this. She's asking, is sourdough bread more healthy?
Sourdough typically is healthier because of the bacterial content. So I agree with you. I think if you want to have a sourdough bread, it will give you more fermented food and it will help your microbiome. But again, like Arjun said, key thing is intact grains. Key thing is intact grains. And sourdough bread many times is not made with intact grains. So I think it may help your microbiome, but it may not help your sugar. So I think intact grain is going to be the key thing. Intact grain actually is good for heart health also. People who eat like a refined or processed grain, they have a higher chance of heart disease also. It's proven again and again. The people who eat whole food grains or intact grains, they have less chance of heart disease.
Excellent, Dr. Shah. Well, Dr. Shah, like, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We know that you're very busy, practicing cardiologist. And one comment I had for our viewers, there are many of our viewers are from like Canada. I know you've been using the word like Americans and like the data, but I just want to say to our viewers, all the statistics that Dr. Shah used are completely applicable, totally applicable for people in Newfoundland, for people in Canada. So this information, this talk is for you. Don't be thinking it's just for the Americans that they have a bad diet. No, we Newfoundlanders and Canadians have a very poor diet. And it's very important to use this valuable information Dr. Shah shared. Like,
yeah, that's an excellent point. I think we all are safe. We all are safe.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Shah, for joining us. It's an honor to spend this time with you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Keep up the great work. Keep up the great work. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, goodbye. Thank you.